Alright boyos, I've got a 4x4 for the force wipe. Before we get into that, what is the most exciting thing about Rust? Is it the PvP, the raiding, the running monuments, or taking big bradders? The answer actually is none of them. As long as you're living in this bad boy, you'll have the time of your life. Base bitching, box sorting, and crafting up gear. Because just look at the open core, it's orgasmic. The shooting floor and roof is going to have your L9 sitting in the red. And your sleep schedule will be fucked as you're going to be sitting in bed with the headset on, just waiting for a C4 or a rocket to hit the base, so you guys can defend it with absolute ease. Alright, now that we're all excited to learn some more about the base, let's jump onto the tour. We're starting this off with the Stability Override Mini Satori Disconnectable. These are a lot of effort to set up, but they're definitely worth it if you want to do it. They're optional though, so don't feel obliged. Credits go to Mini Satori for one half and Dutch Laws to the other half. And the links will be in the description for both of them boys. And then you can just seal it all back up again. Easy peasy, and we'll come around the front and I'll show you the Satori disconnectable side. I'm sure you know how this bit works already though. Need a raised foundation on this one because it's 1.5 high. And that's it, all reconnected again. We've got 4 externals, so I'll show you them all. I've done the socket override on each one, but it's not necessary again. Extra effort for extra raid cost. Super simple. And we'll head back round to the front and we'll go through the gatehouse now. The gatehouse is really basic. It's in most building tutorials now, this one. Nice angles in and outside of the compound with a breach peak that covers the front door of the gatehouse. Underneath here could be a couple of turrets if Sanctuary didn't delete them. And of course we've got space for deployables in this compound, it's absolutely massive. From inside the compound, if we look up, we can see all the wide gapped angles we would have on a raider inside. And we've got some sneaky turret spots inside the compound as well, as you just saw. Not to mention the compound peak that's attached to our other externals. Very useful just for checking who's outside. Now we can go ahead and head into our front door. It's a wide gapped airlock on this one. So we can see in and out of the compound before we've even left our base. And our jump up on this is a breach peak. I got that from Pencil's 7x7, so shout out to him. And you can see that every stage that we jump up from our mobility chute is in fact an early game shooting floor. Definitely very useful for early game and late game. Some surprising angles here that raiders will not expect to be holding. And we can jump up to Peak's floor where we've got a nice little look point for this section. And we can jump up one more time, taking us to a ladder hatch that leads to shooting floor. But we'll drop all the way down, let's not get ahead of ourselves, and we'll give a little tour of the bottom of the shell. Inside the shell we've got plenty of jump ups and mobility chutes to get us around the base nice and easy. Obviously we've got our breach peak that stares at the gatehouse and the rest of compound. And there's a turret on there as well to help defend. You can spam deployables through here if you run out of box space, but I doubt you will. And these extra jump ups provide some peaks into the peak down floor. And they also have an ankle biter onto the floor above. And a ladder hatch that obviously takes you into that floor. And that's the peaks floor, but we won't spoil that just yet either. We're going to head back down and check out the starter base. Starter base is just a 2x2, you guys can build this in any configuration you want. And this is the main TC upkeep right here. So yeah, just your average 2x2. If you guys have a preference on a different way of building it, then you can do that of course. And that's our 2x2 on the second floor. And third floor is all about windows and doors, allowing us to check outside to head into peaks. Peak downs is covered by 4 turrets and there's 4 separate exits as well. Takes you out of this section. We can head back through to the early game shooting floor, or we have a different set of mobility chutes that take us up to open core. Slightly more defendable, slightly stronger because they don't have the gap. And each mobility chute has this peak down here that allows us to defend the floor below. This ladder hatch again leads up to shooting floor, so we've got plenty of ways up to our shooting floor. And then we can head through this single door into a bit of a corridor defended by turrets that comes right before our open core. Above each turret is an ankle biter that leads into the open core bedrooms. Nice angle here, so if raiders have taken control of that, they'll never expect to be peeked from here. And they're defended by turrets, so they can't be used against you. And we've got an ankle biter into the main floor of open core. And this is the open core. Just gonna let you guys look at it, enjoy it. You can see plenty of boxes, siege peak turrets to defend. Of course, you've got your ramp peak tents that you can use as well. Endless amount of box space. You've got your workbenches, you've got your respawns. Plenty of angles to defend this spot from. Super nice open core. Anyone that builds this will definitely enjoy living in it. These are the bedrooms over here. I managed to fit around about 6 beds, but you could fit more on the opposite side where there isn't a tier 3. And that's the siege peak turrets again that I'm just honing in on. 4 of them in total. These are a real pain in the ass when you're trying to raid. And we'll leave open core alone, and we'll head up to shooting floor now and give you a tour of that. Shooting floor is essentially just an endless supply of wide gapped angles, combined with breach peaks and roof peak ups. I'll do a little run around just so you guys can see all the angles that is available to you. I'm just slowly walking around showing you all the entrances to shooting floor and everything that this space can provide. Here is one of the 2 roof exits that we have. It leads out to our roof from our shooting floor. However, if that feels a little bit unsafe, we also have an internal roof exit. It takes us to our defendability point for the open core, whilst also leading out to the roof. This is the defendability point for the open core. Endless boxes, endless respawns and lockers. This is really the space to store all your kits in case of an online raid. It's right at the top of the base, out of the way, so if you have your turrets, it's pretty safe. If you get your SAM sites, it's even more safe, now that we've got MLRS in the game. And you can see the peak downs that we have inside our open core. Combined with the turrets, they'll defend this space here and the space below. So make sure you keep a couple of kits up here and make sure you bag all the beamers in your team at the top there. Heading out of that section now, we will have a little look at the roof. Got some nice angles up here, got some sneaky turret spots. Remember to place in your siren lights. Somehow I forgot one here and I fell through. So don't forget your siren lights here. And then we've got some nice spots for windmills on the roof. And I've shown you guys where to place your SAM sites as well. Put these on MLRS only mode. You don't want to be taking down the minicopters. You don't want to be that guy. And yeah, nice roof peaks all the way around. Check the compound, check far away. Exactly what you're looking for. No blind spots from the turrets, nowhere to hide. You'll get tagged up wherever you are, as long as they're all placed down. And that's a little shot of the electricity as well. Anyway, now that the tour is out of the way, here is the build cost for the entire base. To simplify things a little bit more, we have the box amounts coming up next. How many boxes of each material you'll need to build the base. And lastly, we have the total upkeep spread between 5 TCs. The main TC, the main 2x2, will have the majority of that upkeep. And yeah, now you guys know what it costs, let's get on to how to build it. Alright, let's get building. We'll start off with the starter base, which is of course a 2x2 without an airlock. So yeah, no airlock. Do not accidentally end up putting an airlock, you don't want to do that. Get a single door in that, surround it in walls, and we'll get our TC and our loot room built. You can use this shelf to help make a triangle shelf inside the TC room, so getting everything done nice and efficiently. TC in the back left, and then we get that shelf pulled through. Now one of the roofs of our starter is going to be wooden, so keep that in mind. There's a little bypass we can do if you don't like that, but yeah. Get the loot rooms, and then this one square that I'm leaving out, I'm going to keep that wooden. If you don't want this weakness in your base, you can go above and just seal it in basically, but with a door in front. And hopefully no one will see that there's a wooden floor there. You can just leave it until you're ready to start expanding. That's the starter cost and the upkeep. And we'll jump on and start making starter house go taller. You're going to need some deployables here as a jump up. Just go for furnaces or whatever else, workbench something. And you'll hatchet this bad boy out and begin building up the way. Second floor is just a bit of a wraparound with doors, with some space for loot, and you can spam furnaces or whatever you want here, or just copy what I did in the tour. A couple of shelves in there for extra space and doors to separate. And then we'll head on up one more floor and work on this one too. So we're going to have a single door to the left of your jump up, and then the rest of this floor is going to be windows. And this will be around about where our peaks are, but for just now we can use these windows as like an early game shooting floor. So your starter base is now defendable technically. We'll get some window bars on here and stuff like that, and then you can defend this zone. EGS, early game shooting floor. So yeah, get a door in there, windows, a couple of boxes to stand on to get some better angles. And yeah, this will be your early game shooting floor, so you can still defend from like a really early game raid. Yeah, just use some deployables in here to help you stand up and all that. And have a wooden triangle here. You'll break that when you don't need it anymore, basically. To show you, all the doors should line up if you built it right. It's all the doors lined up. And we'll move on to begin multi-TC. So right here we're going to do some build outs. We need squares on the corners. I'm going to leave out these two squares that I just broke. You're not putting anything there, that's why I shook my head. And then we'll build it around this backside. They're fine, they can stay. Again here, no squares in this bit. Shake my head again, no squares in there, we're leaving that open. And then we can begin the multi-TC process. We're going to build out with 8 squares from this point. They're going to get broken though, don't worry, they're not staying in the forbidden spot. So we're building out with 8, we're capping it with a triangle. I'm sure you guys know how to multi-TC, but just in case you don't, we'll do this nice and slow, easy to follow. Breaking all the squares, and we're building back from our capped off triangle with 4 triangle half moons. Keep in mind, once we get back level with the base, we're going to do a raised foundation, so don't jump ahead and start building. Just wait and see what I do. This one right here is going to be raised the next triangle we place, and that's because we're going to have a breach peak here, and you'll see what that is later on if you're not sure what that is. Just finishing off the side here, and that's what we're looking at. We can break this one now, we don't need it. So we've got 1 raised and 4 normal triangles like that. And now we're actually going to have to wide gap this before we can connect it to an external TC. So we're wide gapping with the 3 square method. 3 squares out. Gap it with a triangle, break the squares, build back. This is going to be a little bit of a hassle at the start of the game, but unfortunately this is the only way to do it. So if you want to build the base, you're going to have to remember all these steps. We're going to cover this triangle in frames. This needs to be done as well. Frames all the way up to 2, and we can get our window on top of our raised foundation, just like this. Now we're going to connect this triangle that's lone standing with the frames to an external TC. Before we do that, we need to go through our gatehouse as well. We'll leave the gatehouse in its simplest form, which is just 1 square at the moment. And those 2 frames, we're going to need those as well to later on connect. And then from here we can build our mini Satori disconnectable TC. It's also going to have a stability override bunker if you can be bothered to build it. Again, it's not necessary. So this time, because it's a little bit higher up, this is just a good trick to know if you're in some bad terrain. We're going to do a half wall with a full wall on top. And we can still do the disconnectable method despite having it being a little bit weirder than the standard TC. We'll join it up with frames and making sure that the foundations are not touching at the bottom. Now we've got this all connected together. You can either do a normal external TC just like this, or if you really want to go the extra mile and turn it into a bunker, you can. It's unlikely you'll have enough room to go all the way out like this, but you just use maths. We're going to go out 19 triangles, however you can do the maths on this. So we start with a square, That's triangle 1, and then we get 18 more after the one I just placed. It's unlikely you'll go out this far. However, just do maths. Basically, as long as it adds up to 19 in the end that you've built out and came back with, then you're fine. And we'll break all these and build back with squares. And then we can create our override bunker. Again, this is really, if you don't want to take this on, you don't need to. This is just adding complication for a little bit extra raid cost. And then we'll slap a double halfle on there for lack of stability. Get our frame placed in. We want that to be low stability with a high floor in there. And then we can get our floor in at the end. High floor, low floor should disappear with the roof. Again, if that looks like a challenge to you, you don't need to try and do it. It's not necessary. And that's how our disconnectable works. It needs to come off the foundation in order to disconnect. So remember that. It needs to be off the foundation. That's why I did a raised one. And all of that is going to get connected back to our original foundations that are currently going to be decaying, depending how quickly you did that. That needs to be a floor, other two are frames. And boom, that's your connection. I know that was a bit of a mind-blowing thing to watch. That's going to be annoying to build. Practice this on a build server, please. This is a difficult build. And then you're going to replicate that on the opposite side, exact same thing that we just did. Now we can come around to the other side of the base and build in our entrance. Now our entrance is partly wide gapped, so we're just going to do 2 triangles for just now. And we're going to leave out the middle one. Do not place that. You'll see that I leave a gap there. And we're doing a breach peak as well as part of our jump up, so that's why it's half wall window, then a roof like this. And that's part of our jump up to make a little breach peak. I got that from Pencil's 7x7, so cheers for that. And then we'll replicate that on this side as well. Again, we're leaving out that middle triangle foundation so that we can later on add a wide gap one in there instead. Again, a breach peak with a frame and our roof triangle in there as well. And that's that sorted. Next, we're going to add in a couple more foundations just to the left and right of our airlocks. And we'll leave those alone for just now once we've got them all placed. And we're going to move back around to the complicated side of the base. And we're going to start working on our breach peaks. So breach peaks on the first floor, they're really not too complicated. You're going to have a window on the left and right of our raised window. Then cap it off with a couple of walls. And then match the height in the middle, like that. 2 frames for a bit of stability. Triangles to come along, and we don't need this extra half bit here, so we're just going to seal it in, just like that. And then to finish this off, you can add some embrasures on the left and right, and of course get our roofs in here as well. And you'll see that there's space for a turret to sit on that foundation too. And I'll show you this all one more time again. Exact same steps on the opposite side of the base. Get that top part sealed in, we don't have any use for that. Couple of embrasures on the left and right. The top one we can leave open. Get a nice head glitch out of that. And those 2 are done. Now we can work on the peak downs mobility. So if you don't remember what they are, they're inside the peaks. It's the little window section that also has the single door peak up onto the second floor. So we're going to add in some frames, some walls, half height jump. Then this triangle here is going to turn into a peak up with the single door. Show you that. There we go. And then we're going to also have windows that face in towards the base, just like this, so we can use them to peek. And finally cap it off with 2 frames, one halfway up, one full up. And we'll build 3 more of them exactly the same way. I'm not going to show you that, I'm sure you guys know what you're doing. Once they're done, get the ladder hatches placed in. And then we'll just seal them off at the top basically with a little spot for a turret. That half height space, we'll use that as a turret. Just like that, all the way around, all 4 of them. And you can slot some turrets in there as well. These should cover the peak downs floor nicely, keep it nice and safe for you guys. A couple of blind spots to hide from them, but you'll be able to defend it with them. We'll get onto the shell and the peaks now. We're going to raise this shell up to match the height. And then our inner peak downs are really nothing fancy. It's just 3 triangles inside the space of 2 squares. It's going to make a couple of peaks for us. You'll be able to fall through these, so we're going to need siren lights as well. And we're doing exactly the same on all the 4 sides. just like that. And then we'll get our siren lights in there as well, making sure that we cannot fall through and raiders cannot ladder up. You've got plenty of mobility from the peaks up to this level, so you're going to use that instead. And now we'll come back outside to this airlock. As I said, we're going to wide gap this again using the 3 square method. So 1 triangle, 3 squares, 1 triangle. Break it all, build back, and our square is now going to be a wide gap square, allowing us to do a wide gap front door, and then a bit of an early game shooting floor coming all the way up from our mobility chute. Connecting our triangles always to the wide gap side so that we have a nice shark tooth going all the way up. And then we can build a hexagon from this, and we'll connect this to an external TC. Now this is how I do all my solo duo trio bases, quad bases and stuff. So if any of you guys have built them, you'll know what you're doing here. Nice and easy, 4 squares out for our mini Satori disconnectable. TC goes in there. We're not doing anything fancy this time. If you guys do want to build it on all 4 sides, you guys know how to do the stability override now, I've shown you. And we'll connect this up with frames. You need to get some stability though, so we'll do a triangle. And this is my little connection bit I like to do, with a furnace that allows you to peek outside of compound. I'm sure you saw it in the tour. And that's your disconnectable there. I'll show you how it works. I'm sure you already know though. Just like that, boom boom. And seal it up again. And that's our connection there. You'll need to do that again on the opposite side of the base, so make sure you do that, exact same. And we'll make our original entrance taller now that we've got that spare wide gap frame that we can now use. So walls on there, match the height on that, and window in the middle. And you can get a window frame there too, in brazier. And this will act as a bit of an early game. It'll give you peeks into compound and stuff like that. Get a half height jump on there with some door frames. And then we'll place in our triangle floors, making a shark tooth again. This will allow you to peek up on people that are chasing you through the mobility chute. And we'll have a single door to exit out onto peaks. Beside our single door, we're doing a half wall, low wall. That's going to be symmetrical all the way around. It's going to allow us to peek inside peek downs. Saying so many different words of peaks. Door frames in there and a open triangle frame there, just to provide stability going further up. And now we can do the other mobility chute. This one starts from the peek downs floor and it will actually take us into OC. As the weird one that's got the early game on it with the wide gap part, that doesn't lead into open core because it's not quite as safe. So these 2 chutes we're building now are the only ones that will lead into open core. And of course they have the single door and the low wall peak again. Just like that. Get the frame in there for stability. And exact same thing over here as well. Finally, we've got some more gaps on this floor. We can just seal them in nice and easily with some walls. Nothing too complicated, just to finish off the second floor. 4 walls to place in. Then we'll get some frames inside on top of the ladder hatches for stability. All the way around our ladder hatches like that. That's all we need in there. And then on this side, basically where you've got no foundations below you, we're going to do some multi-TC magic to close up the gaps. Get some frames on the go. We want our stability to be low on the frames and our stability to be high on the floors. And that's a general rule, just going up and up as we keep doing that. High floors, low frames. And you only need to do that twice. The other ones they'll all place in without any gaps. Again on this side we're going to have some gaps, so low frames, high floors. Keep that in mind as we head further up. And boom. That is that floor all sealed up. If you made it this far, you're doing amazing. My voice is starting to die already, but we've got like 30 minutes left to go. Let's make the peek ups that go into our bedrooms in OC. Same kind of peek up that you've already made, with a half height underneath. Again, we can put a turret in that little spare half part. 4 of those in total, that's 2 built. And this is our last one now. Looking good, looking good. And next we can work on the open core a little bit. Gonna seal up this side. As I said, this one does not go into open core. Just because it has that gap makes it a little bit weaker. However, this mobility chute does lead straight into open core. Both of them do go to shooting floor though, don't worry. Again, we're doing single doors, that's optional. If you want to do double or garage, that's fine. I just always have armored singles lying around and I have nowhere to place them, so that's a personal one. Get these walls placed in and get us a little bit secure. Now we can start working on the loot rooms. Wall them in at these sides here. This window here is going to be a little bit of an ankle biter onto anyone that's inside open core. And the window lines up with a single door that enters into here. Beside our window, a double door that allows us to jump up, just like that. And we'll surround the inner 2x2 in half walls, just to stop people splashing and to separate up the 2 entrances. And then you can get a set of floors on top of them, and there's space for boxes in this section too that you can access from the window and from under the double door. Just show you that now. In there you can do boxes if you want. Should have plenty of boxes though inside this open core. I doubt they'll be overflowing. Get some frames in here. Don't forget about conditionals. Hopefully I don't need to explain conditionals. This is definitely an expert build, so you should know what conditionals are. Essentially it's rotating the frame to make the gap go away, and we're going to be making sure we do that because gaps are bad. And don't forget a frame in the middle and over on the other side as well. Okay, now that we've got all that done, we can move on to a little bit of box placement. I don't always do this in my video, but this is just useful to know. The first box needs to be placed on the middle line in between the 2 squares. And once you get that one down, it's super easy to place the rest, 2 on either side of your middle box. That's 1, that's 2, and then 3, 4 on the opposite side. And that's where those go. Then we're going to get a set of triangle floors on top of that and place in the rest of our boxes, just starting with the middle one and then going 2 to the left, 2 to the right. There we go, that's 10 boxes down already. Another set of triangles over that. Looking good over here as well. And we'll get some frames in front of there. And then raise the section up by 2 walls. There we go, so now it's 2 tall. We don't go all the way up though, we just need 1.5. So we'll seal that up at the top there. And that's where our ramp peaks are going to go, I'm sure you know that already. Once we've done that on this side, we've got 1 more row of boxes to show you guys how to place. They're easier if you place them before the frames, but obviously it's possible when the frames are there. 1 in the middle, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. I'm going to cheat a little bit here and fly to place them, but hopefully you guys aren't going to be flying when you're playing Rust. And that's the box placement done. Every other deployable in the base, I don't think it needs to be explained apart from those ones, so don't expect any more deployable placement. Now we're going to work on the OC bedrooms. Again, we're covering up the gaps. I've already said low frames, high stability on the floors. And then the other 2 are normal, no gaps there. Just like that. And I'll do it again over this side too. So we're working on the section that has no foundations below. Low frames, high floors. We can add walls in this section and walls around our peak up. And we're not going to utilize the half height bit above. As you can see, I'm just sealing it off. And we'll get a layer of frames going through here as well. Some double door frames. Again, we're rotating for the conditional. Do not forget to do this. This section will be honeycombed by the shooting floor, but still, let's not have these gaps. A couple of half height floors in there. And we do need an entrance to this point. We're going to do a window above the window and a door above the door. Like that. Looking good, looking good. Get some ramps in here. 1 to hide the peek up and 2 to just get our boxes looking cool. Bit of honeycomb as well. Hopefully they won't be able to spot you peeking up at them from underneath those boxes. And get all them placed in, so you definitely won't run out of boxes in this one. It's a nice big open core. Frame in the middle as well. And you'll place your beds in here, just like I had in the tour. Again, we're doing our frames and our floors. And then we're going to replicate that on the opposite side. I'm sure you guys know how to do that. And we can work on the open core peek downs once you've gotten everything leveled up on each side. We're doing floor frames across here with a half wall to divide. And then just 4 squares in the middle, like that. Get your ramps in raised and place them how I'm placing them. Should be easy enough. Boom. Your open core is sealed up now. It's technically available to use. Probably not strong enough yet though. Next, we're going to take all 4 of the mobility chutes to shooting floor height, which is just raising them up by 1 more. Get our frames in here and a triangle ladder hatch frame. They're all going to be ladder hatches. Hopefully you don't mind that. There's 4 of them though, so it should be okay. On this side, we do have space for a locker. That's what the single door bit is for. And we're going to do a wall this time instead of a window, so keep that in mind. And we're not placing our frame in shark tooth style, we're having it all connected to main base right now. And there we go. I showed you 2 of those chutes, just replicate it. Both chutes are the same along the base. And now we're placing in a couple of extra foundations that will allow us to do the shooting floor. We're starting on the side with the wide gapped entrance. And I'll show you exactly the same again. These are all 4 I'm showing you because it can get confusing. To get all 4 of these triangles placed down with the frames to connect them, we're also going to use those frames as wide gaps. And then we'll come over to the side with the breach peak, and we'll do square triangle, square triangle, square. And we're breaking the square in there, we don't need that. And same over the side. It'll kind of make a bit of a H-June 2x2 style square, if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then just ignore what I said. There we go, making sure you're deleting what I delete and keeping what I keep. Boom. Those are all the foundations that we're going to need. Well, we'll need some more. But that was most of them. Over this side as well, a couple more triangles to place in. And we'll get the last few placed in now. And frames. I'll show you the complicated frames first, so we're going to start on the squares. It's not as simple as just placing frames. We're going to do half walls at the bottom here. With the floor on top, we can hide a turret in here. If you've got spare turrets, this is a good spot. Definitely makes it hard to push up to the base once they've pummeled. So we've got 4 of these. Replicate that all the way around. This is our 3rd one. One more. And a couple of more confusing frames we're going to do. In front of our wide gapped airlock, the entrance to the base, we're going to do 2 frames with half walls on top. Then 1 more frame in the middle without a half wall. And we'll replicate that on the other side as well. I'll build it one more time so you can see. And then we're going to raise up our breach peaks so that you guys don't forget we're just focusing on these because they're slightly different than the rest of the frames. These are the more complicated sides. So these final windows we place should match the height of the shooting floor level with all of our mobility chutes. And this side here is also a breach peak that combines into a roof peak up. And we'll build another one of them. Breach peak with a roof peak up on top. And then we can raise the frames to the side with windows right at the end and a floor to stand on. Again, we're repeating this for all 4 squares on the corners. And we'll finish off this last one. Now we'll get the bottom row frames in there. I'm not going to show you them all getting raised up, but these are the bottom level frames. I'm going to skip that one. Bottom level frames, and then you can raise them all the way up. All these ones in here. Base is symmetrical by 2, so it's easy enough to follow. And then all these frames that we just placed in, you're going to raise them up to the same height as everything else that we've built so far. And I'll be back with you guys once you've gotten all that done. All the frames are down, so let's get some floors going on our shooting floor. We are starting at the side with the wide gapped airlock, just so you know. And the floors are simple, they make sense, I'm sure you'll understand what we're doing. The shark teeth that we're making right now does have a bit of a gap to it. You're going to need to place some siren lights in here to stop you from falling out. And just watch with this multi-TC side that you're placing things with the right gap. I'll show you the gap that we're looking for in a second. I'll aim in so you can tell exactly where we want our gap to be. There we go, that's our gap, and make sure you just have it like this. That'll allow you to place in your frames. I'm sure you guys were wondering what to do with this section of frames, if we raise it up or not. We do. That's actually going to be one of our roof exits, so you can raise that up as I'm doing right now. And get a floor on there. No breach peak in that part, just the roof peak up. Again, we're just going around the rest of the shooting floor, placing these all in. Making sure we've got our gap in there correctly. And getting all these other floors in here too. Right, once all the floors are in there, give you a quick run around so you can make sure you've got it right. Once all the floors are in there though, we're going to get our windows all the way around the perimeter of the base. Alright, windows are going in, just copy as I do. I'm sure you see that I missed out one there, so don't place a window there. Missed it out again there. Okay. Now we can get some roof exits on the go now. On these spots that I left out. Nice and simple roof exit. And another one of them on the go too. and some peak ups that are going to go next to the squares. 4 of those in total, again, symmetrical. Making sure you do all 4, I'm just going to show you 2. Now this is how we seal off the shooting floor. We're going to honeycomb our loot rooms, of course, and then place in some frames where we can. You won't get one in front of the ladder hatch, so don't try. And then we can go further around, replicate it on this side, honeycomb again. And our frames on the left and right. That's just for stability. You're not going to hide anything in there. You don't want to seal it off or ruin the peak. Then we can go over to our other ladder hatch side, and you'll be able to place a frame in front of that one. Have a single door to the right for a locker, and a jump up to the left. It'll take us into our defense bit. Get your locker in there, just like that. And we'll build that bit again just in case you need to see it more. Keeping the base symmetrical by 2. A couple more frames to go around the shooting floor before we finally seal it all up. So get those placed in as I do. And now finally we can add the floors on top. We're basically just copying what's underneath. Again, these gaps that we're making right now, they're going to need some siren lights on the go, so don't forget them. A couple frames I missed out, but just get those in now. All those frames in. And continue with getting the floors slapped on there. On this side over here, you won't have any stability to place off the single door, so do in the middle. Connected to main base. Like that. And then we're just following around. The rest of it does match below. Making sure we keep the gap correct. Nearly done. And once we've got all the floors placed in, covering up our shooting floor, we can start working on the part that defends the open core. Behind our peak downs, we're going to seal it in the triangles so we have space to put our turrets. These are siege peak turrets and they're OP. Getting them on both sides. And we've obviously got our airlocks that already lead into here. And we can add in some frames in between. Those airlocks just lead up from the jump up, nice and simple. And frames all the way around. And we can get a wall to the left and right of our airlocks. Finally sealing it all off with a roof. And just in case you missed the airlocks bit, I'm going to give you a bird's eye view so you can see exactly what we've built. So one side has only 2 triangles and the other side has 3. And then those 3 triangles, one leads out to roof, one leads into this section. Again, if you're not too sure, you can load in the base with the sanctuary code in the description. And then we're just going to seal it all in and give it a roof. And again, frames have no stability and floors get the big stability. Sealing that all in. That's that bit done. Little circle around so you guys can see. That's the turret placement. It's not hard, just slap it in the triangle somewhere, as far back as it can go. And that'll look in and defend your boxes as pointing right at them. Finally, we can do the roof. Well, not finally, there's actually a few more things, but let's do the roof. We're getting these windows placed in here where I've got them down. Easy peasy. And we're going to have some hidden turret spots as well above our roof pickups. And we'll hide them from the outside with some roof ramps like that. All 4 of them. Then beside those windows we placed, you can have a roof ramp leading up, making a nice little peek down and a head glitch to faraway people. All the way around we're getting these roofs in. Lastly, we can seal up the gaps with some square roofs. Oh, don't forget about these siren lights actually, we want them in the shooting floor and the roof. They're easy to place, so yeah, just block the gap with them. And then comes in these square roofs that I was talking about. All the way around to them, 8 of those in total. Boom, that's the roof done. Let's get some electricity going. 2 frames up from this point. And 2 frames up from this point. And I'm just going to show you 2 of them. Replicate the other 2 that I just made on the opposite sides if you need 4 windmills. And SAM sites underneath each windmill. You only need 3, but I'm a symmetry guy, so we're doing 4. This is of course to avoid MLRS. S. Lastly, somehow we've not done the gatehouses yet. If you've somehow left it this long, this is how you do the gatehouses coming up now. I'm sure you already knew how to do these because they're in every single building video ever, but here we go. Get the roofs on there. Getting a nice peek into compound. And we'll build another one of them as well. And boom, that's both the gatehouses done, and that's the whole base done once you get a compound wrapped around it. Hopefully you boys did enjoy the video, and if you did, please feel free to give me a like and drop me a comment down below. If you guys are going to build this base, let me know how it goes. Hopefully this tutorial was really easy to follow, that's what I was going for. If you guys got any questions, remember I have a Discord that you guys can join down below in the description, where there's lots of great builders that can help you, including me. Remember to sub if you're sound, and I'll see you boys in the next video.